sweet girl is here to say hello. This is Daisy. Say hi, Daisy. You sweet girl. You want to talk about some books? Huh? You excited? Okay. Okay, you gotta let mommy work. Okay. Hi guys. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be talking about the books that I plan to read in May. Now I know that I will never make it through all of these books this month. I have a longer list than what I possibly have time to read, but all of these books were calling my name for May, and so I just decided to include them all on my list, and that way I can just kind of pick and choose as I go. I'm hoping, to get through maybe a little over half of these, but we'll just see. I may get on a kick and just wipe this list clean. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I've got a handful of books that we'll talk about today, so let's get started. Okay, so a couple of things about this month's TBR that's a little bit different from the past couple of videos I've done and talked about is, number one, if you've seen my past videos, you know that I am a thriller mystery girl. I love the suspense and trying to figure out, putting the pieces together and who did what and how it happened and when it happened and why it happened and all those fun details. I like other genres as well, but I am just so into thrillers and mysteries as kind of my core love of reading. But I say that this month it's taking a weird turn, and for some reason I've been seeing so many different romance books out there that I've been wanting to read, and some of them are newer, some of them are a little bit older, and so I have quite a few here today, and heavy on the romance category, but we've got some historical fiction romance, we've got some fantasy romance. Another cool thing about this month's TBR is that I went a little bit crazy in the library. If you guys remember from my BookTube newbie tag video, I have recently rediscovered the library, and it is a glorious place that I have literally spent hours at a time in, just browsing the shelves and finding different authors, looking for books that I've been wanting to read for months now, and wasn't sure if I was going to like them or not, so I'm taste testing from the library and then going to the bookstore to actually buy more books from a certain author if I like them. Riley Sager, for example, I read Lock Every Door, and it was very, very good. Would I say it's my favorite thriller I've ever read? No, but I really like his writing style. So that's a great example of how I picked that one up from the library, and now I plan to go to the bookstore and just start buying every copy of his books that I can get my hands on, especially Home Before Dark, which I'm super excited to read in spooky season. But this month's TBR does have a lot of finds from the library, so just a little plug there for if you want to go check out your local library. I was very surprised to find that they have lots and lots and lots of new releases and books that I just didn't expect them to have. So let's get started. Okay, so the first book that we'll talk about today is just the flat-out romance novel that I've picked up. This author is one of those that I had told myself I was just never going to read, partially because I'm not huge on the trendy train. I like to kind of find authors that aren't at the top of everybody's reading list. I don't know why that is, but I thought I would give this author a try, and this particular book I think is a duology, so I decided to go with It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. And I know that I'm late to the game on this one, but from what I hear, it is so good and makes people really, really feel And for some reason this month, I'm just in the mood for all the feels. So I thought I would pick this one up. So this book is about a girl named Lily who has gone through her young adult life, graduated from college, she's moved to Boston, started a business, and she meets this handsome neurosurgeon. And I think from what I understand, everything, it seems great. He is a good fit for her. He's handsome, he's loving, he's got a really soft spot for her, but for some reason he's got this aversion to relationships, and she has a lot of questions as to why does he feel that way, what's happened in his past. And so as her relationship starts deepening with him, and his name is Ryle, then her former love comes back into the picture. His name is Atlas. And so when Atlas comes back into the picture, she starts having feelings for him again. And so I get the sense that there's going to be a love triangle trope in this one. I don't know exactly how it's going to end, but I know there is a sequel. So we'll get a little bit invested in these characters and see what happens during their journey. But I'm really excited to just dip my toe into the Colleen Hoover pool and see if she might be an author that I want to read. I've gotten a few books recently gifted to me by Colleen Hoover, and so I'm really hoping that I like her because I want to like her. She has so many novels that I'm like, I want to like her so that I can read all these books. So we'll see how I feel about this one, but I'm excited to read it. The next book that I'm excited to read is from the historical fiction genre, and I saw this book as a recommendation from Darling Desi on her spring book reads. And it's one that kind of grabbed my attention, and while still in the sort of spring season through May, I thought, let's go ahead and get this one in while we can. So I picked up from my library as well, A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting by Sophie Irwin. And this book is about a young woman named Kitty who is in need of finding a husband to gain a fortune because her father has left her with massive debt. And so she decides that she's going to travel to England to join in on the London social season to try to find a husband. And little does she know that I am thinking her future love may be there. Lord Radcliffe is one of the gentlemen that she meets, and he sees her as the fortune hunting woman that she is, a gold digger, if you will. And he is out to sort of uncover the truth for everyone to see that she is not who she says she is, and she is just in this for the money. And in the process, I believe there are some sparks that begin to fly between the two of them. So I'm excited to read this one because I think it takes place during the Regency period, and it's perfect for the springtime, and it's one that I know that I'm probably going to love because I'm in this sort of Pride and Prejudice, Bridgerton, springy London season sort of reading vibe right now. So looking forward to picking this one up too. Okay, so moving on to our fantasy romance category, the first book that I want to read is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. And this is one that I picked up a couple of months ago and really want a chance to read it before the sequel comes out later this year, which I'm so excited about. But this book, I just was wanting to read something that was cozy and again gave me all the feels. So from what I have heard, this book is extremely cozy. It's almost like a warm hug or like you're drinking a warm cup of coffee. This story centers around an orc named Viv, who has had a life of fighting brutal wars and has decided she has had enough, and she does not want to do that anymore. She's tired of that life and she wants to move on to something more slow-paced that gives her enjoyment because she's doing something that she's passionate about, which is coffee. And as you guys probably know, if you've seen my past videos, I am a huge coffee lover. So when I heard that, I was like, yes, please. I would love to read a book about coffee and a coffee shop and all the fun characters that we probably meet along the way. So she ends up hanging up her sword. She moves to a town called Thune, and she opens up a coffee shop, which is like her lifelong dream. And along the way, she meets some friends who help her out running the store. And I don't know a whole lot about this story. I started this one because I was really excited to get into it. I'm actually on page 54 right now, and I think it's just starting to kind of pick up. So it's one that I really can't wait to get deeper into, but knowing that the sequel is coming out sometime in the fall, and maybe November, I want to try to get through this one now so that I can read that one then. But I know this one has been on a lot of people's, not only TBRs for many, many months in the past, but also was so many people's favorite book of like the year when it came out. So I know this is one that I'm probably going to love. Okay, so again, the next book is one that I picked up because it is perfect for the springtime, and again falls into that London season sort of storyline. So I grabbed, again from my library, Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. And this is a book that I find really interesting. It's definitely a fantasy romance. I have never heard of this kind of plot before, and I don't know a whole lot about this book, so I'll just read the back to you. It says, ever since she was cursed by a fairy, Theodora Eddings has had no sense of fear or embarrassment, an unfortunate condition that leaves her prone to accidental scandal. Dora hopes to be a quiet, sensible wallflower during the London season, but when Elias Wilder, the handsome, peculiar, and utterly ill-mannered Lord Sorcier, discovers her condition, she is instead drawn into dangerous fairy affairs. If her reputation can survive both her curse and her sudden connection with the least liked man in all of high society, then she and her family may yet reclaim their normal place in the world. But the longer Dora spends with Elias, the more she begins to suspect that one may indeed fall in love even with only half a soul. So it sounds like Bridgerton meets fantasy. So this is one that I am curious about. I don't know if this one is going to be a yes for me because I've never read anything like this before. So we'll have to just pick it up later and see what I think about it. The next book that I can't wait to read, and I've had my eye on this one for quite a while. It came recommended to me by a friend of mine, and it's, again, not really in the genre that I'm used to reading, but it seems really interesting. And so it's one that I can't wait to pick up and see what I think about it, that I grabbed from my library again as well, is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And this is Erin Morgenstern's debut novel. She's had a few others come out since this. And from what I've heard on BookTube, she is a very, very well-liked author. I believe she wrote The Starless Sea, which is another one that was a huge hit on BookTube. I've seen Alexandra Rosalind talk about that book and how much she loves this author. And so it's one that I just, when he recommended this to me, I was like, yes, let's try it. And so I don't know a whole lot about this book other than what I've read on the inside cover, but I know that it takes place at the circus. And behind the scenes, there is actually a competition going on between two illusionists who have since childhood been trained and brought up to be able to compete in this competition. But little did they know that at the end of the competition, only one of them can still be left standing. And once they figure that out, instead of looking at it as a competition, they start looking at it as a collaboration between the two of them. And sparks fly. And I have to read you one line on the inside cover that I think just really made me want to pick this book up, because I love the magic aspect to this, quite literally, with the magician illusion sort of storyline to it, but also I love how it sounds like there's going to be quite quite an interesting love storyline in this one as well. It seems like it's going to be pretty intense. So I'll read you this one part where it says, "A deep, passionate, and magical love that makes the lights flicker and the room grow warm whenever they so much as brush their hands." I mean, my gosh, who doesn't want a love like that? And so I think this book has a playful aspect to it, magical aspect, romance. There's some spicy, sort of seductive writing to it. So I think it's going to be very hearty and quite a good love story from what my friend has told me and from what I've heard from others on BookTube. So this is one that I'm really interested in picking up and may actually be one of the first ones that I read in May. Okay, moving on to our mystery and thriller category. This first one is the only mystery that I have for this month, but it's one that really, really grabbed my attention when I saw it on the bookshelf. And I just have a feeling this is going to be right down my alley. And that is The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentile. And what is so cool about this book is that it takes place in a library. We all know I love a library. It's about a murder. I love books about murders. And there's mystery because we don't know who the murderer is, why it's happened. This actually takes place in the Boston Public Library, and it's in the reading room, which is this beautiful, ornate room where a lot of people are on this particular day, and everyone is doing their own thing, and then all of a sudden there is a blood-curdling scream. And we don't know what it is. We don't know if someone's hurt. We don't know if something worse has happened than that. But police come swarming in and they say, everyone stay where you are until we can contain the situation and figure out what is going on. So they close and lock the doors and no one can go anywhere until their investigation is over. Well, there are 4 people who happen to sit down at the same table, and as they are there, they decide to start talking to each other, and some friendships are created. They start sharing stories. They start getting to know each other. But little do they know that one of them at the table is actually the murderer. I can't wait to read this book. It sounds so good, and I love it when there's someone playing games and the whole time they know but you don't know, and no one around them knows. And they're just playing with people, and it is so intriguing. And I'm curious to see with this one if it's one where you will be told in the story who the murderer is, or if it is left up to you to figure it out. I like both. I tend to lean towards the latter because I really like trying to put the clues and pieces together myself. But either way, this sounds like such a fun, delicious book. So one that I'm really excited to read. Okay, so I mentioned Riley Sager. Well, I picked up another one of his books from the library, and I think I'm going to be a Riley Sager fan to the end. I really liked Lock Every Door, and from what I've heard, this book has gotten really, really good reviews. It's one of his older novels, but one that I haven't read yet, so I'm really excited to pick it up, and that is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. And this book takes place initially at a Camp Nightingale, and I mean, that alone, I'm like, yes, because a camp is one of the, like, creepiest places to me. It should be like, when you think about a kid's sleepaway camp, it should be fun and like energetic and playful, but when I think of camps, I'm like, ooh, what could happen at a camp? There are serial killers and all kinds of things, and I know that's so weird, but like, I think about like Friday the 13th, obviously, and like, you're at a camp and people are getting killed and so when I heard camp, I was like, yes, I absolutely love that. I don't know if this takes place during the summer, which I would think it would, since most camps are summer camps, which would be great since we're going into the summertime. But this book centers around 4 girls initially, Emma being the youngest, and they're cabin mates and they're going through camp together. And then all of a sudden, one night, Emma stays behind in bed and the three other girls sneak out of their cabin, and the last time that anyone ever sees them is when Vivian, which is one of the girls leaving the cabin, turns around to Emma, puts her finger to her mouth and says, "Shh," and then closes the door and walks out. And then they're never seen or heard from again. And Emma grows up. She becomes one of the most well-known, successful artists in the New York scene. And the way that she kind of copes with the trauma that she experienced, and the unanswered questions that she has from her childhood at Camp Nightingale from that night, is she paints her experiences and what she thinks about when she remembers the memories that she has from that time there. And the new owner of Camp Nightingale is at the art show, sees her art, and decides, oh my gosh, not only are you a great artist, but you have this history with the camp. And so she decides, because she is reopening the camp, which has been closed since this incident had happened, she invites Emma to come back to Camp Nightingale to be the art instructor. And so Emma decides, well, this may be the best chance that I have to get the answers that I'm looking for. So she goes back to Camp Nightingale, and when she's there, she notices a couple of things. She notices a camera that is pointed directly at her door in the cabin that she stayed at when she was a child, and it is the only camera on the entire camp's vicinity. And the other thing she notices is that as time goes on, when she's there, these weird cryptic clues start popping up from Vivian, the girl who left the cabin that night with the other two girls. They start popping up, and she has to try to figure out, like, what do these mean? Why am I finding these now? Can these give me the answers that I'm looking for? And as she starts kind of unraveling this mystery and trying to figure out what happened to those three girls that night, she finds out that seeking those answers may end up being more deadly than she realizes. So it just sounds so juicy and mysterious and thrilling, and Riley Sager, just, to me, the one book that I read, I thought his writing was really, really good. And I loved the way he wrote his dialogue. So that's something that I'm excited to see how that is in this book. But from what I've heard, this is a good one. And so yes, definitely yes, excited to pick this one up. And the very last book, which, you guys, I went to the bookstore and picked this up today. And I have been waiting all month because I've seen so many people on BookTube getting arcs of this book, and I've heard mixed reviews, I would say, and I just feel like this is going to be one that I will really, really like. I've never read anything from this author before, but the previous works that he's had, I think mostly from what I've heard, have gotten really good feedback, positive feedback. So this book just has such an intriguing plot line to me, and kind of hits close to home with what I'm doing right now. And that is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. And you may know Taylor from Hairpin Bridge or No Exit. But this is his newest novel that just came out either yesterday or today. And I am just beyond excited to read it, because this story centers around Emma Carpenter, who is somewhat of a recluse. She lives in a very remote area, and she's a reader, and she reads an author's debut horror novel, and unfortunately didn't have a good experience, didn't like it. It happens. Some books we read and we don't like. Well, she goes online and she leaves a review that is a 1-star review. It is not very nice. It could potentially make this author's sales very, very low. And she turns around and the author is starting to get into a fight with her online about her feedback on his story. And she thinks, well, maybe this will end here. Maybe he's just a loony who can't take constructive criticism. But then she starts feeling like he might be stalking her. And the fact that I am on BookTube, I review books, so many others on BookTube review books, it seems like the most hilarious thing that could actually ever happen in real life. Like, what author would actually have that kind of a reaction? But it could happen. And that, I think, is one of the things that makes this such a intriguing book to me, is that it could potentially happen in real life, and that's a scary thing. So yes, this is one I have been waiting all month long to get my hands on, and now I have it, and I cannot wait to pick it up and read it. So yes, I will let you guys know how I feel about this one, and if I am a fan of this, and even if I'm not, I will probably pick up Taylor Adams' other books, because I've heard just really good things about this author. So we will see how I feel about this one when the time comes. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today to check out the reading plans that I have for May. If you have made it to this point in the video, since we talked about so much romance today, please leave me a heart emoji of your choice. And thank you for watching this far. Hopefully you got some good recommendations from me and my list of what I plan to read. But as always, I want to know what you're reading. I want to know what you're excited about picking up in May. Let me know if you've read some of these books before, if you liked them, if you didn't like them. I'm always interested in hearing both sides of the coin and people's feedback, and then I will also enjoy sharing my thoughts with you guys as well. So I appreciate you guys stopping by, and please remember to like and subscribe and click that notification bell too, so that whenever I have a new video go up, you guys will know about it and you can go watch. So I'm so happy I got to see y'all today, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video as well. Hope you guys have a good last few days in April, and I'll see you again in May. Bye!